Alright, so this lesson is going to help you with the List and Spreadsheet App, which is up here at the top, the title, but these are the three that you're going to be doing. Like on your STAAR test, they might want you to get a linear function, or they might want you to get a quadratic function, or an exponential. Those are the only three you'll be tested on the STAAR test. So it's going to be, and it could be, there's several problems. Some are linear, some are quadratic, some are exponential. You don't know until you read the question and then graph it. So if they want a linear, I need for you to write this down. Like get a marker or a pen or pencil, that whatever you're going to use to take notes. And let's write down the equations for each one, and then we'll draw a picture of what they look like. So that way when you see it, you know what it is. The linear is y equals mx. And then remember, it's plus, but sometimes minus. So put plus or minus, and then b. So this is what sometimes they want. Now, sometimes they don't want the whole equation, but the equation gives you a lot of information, because what is the m? Slope. So think about it. If they want rate of change, or they want the slope, hey, you could use the spreadsheet app, because the equation will give you the slope. Now, what does the b represent? The y-intercept. So write it down. So if, let's say you come across a problem and the question says, what is the y-intercept of this linear function? Use the spreadsheet app, get your equation, and the b would be the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and draw some pictures of what linear functions can look like. And I'm going to actually draw a slope guide on this graph. So some lines go up, and they have a positive slope. Some lines go down, and they have a negative slope. Some lines are vertical, like the nose of slope guy, and so at the bottom, remember we would put a U for the nose part, and the U reminds you of what? Undefined. And then the mouth was flat, and it had dimples in the end to remind you of the zero slope. So there's your slope guy. And so these are the types of lines that maybe your data might make. Like what if you graph this and it's one of these, then it's a linear function and you want a linear equation. Now, sometimes your data looks like a quadratic. Anybody remember what quadratics look like? I'll give you an example. It's a letter of the alphabet. The U's. Remember, these are the ones that look like U's. So this is the equation that the calculator is going to give you, and when you use the spreadsheet, it's going to give you this equation. It's ax squared plus bx plus c. Now you can go back and put plus and minus, because remember, sometimes it is a subtract symbol. So this is what quadratics look like. Draw it out. Sometimes they look like a typical U, like this. And remember that this would be considered a minimum. So you can put there minimum. I'm just going to abbreviate, M-I-N. And then maximum. Sometimes they're upside down U's. Those are the two types that you will see on your STAAR test, either a min or a max, and you have to know the difference. Okay? So if your data that you grab looks like a U or half a U, sometimes it'll be like just half of the U, then you would get a quadratic equation. Now, we also have exponential. Up here at the top, it gives you the title, and this is what they look like. When you get it in the spreadsheet, this is what the equation looks like. Y equals A, and then times B to the X power. So the little X up here at the top is why they call it exponential. Think about it. The word exponential has the word exponent in it. And so this is the reason why they call it exponential, is because look at the X. It's being used as an exponent. So therefore the name was exponential. Okay, there's sometimes reasons why they call them what they call them. I don't know why they call these quadratic, to be honest with you. Now linear, because look, it has the word line in it. So linear line, same thing. In Spanish you would say línea. So it's kind of like linear. But this is why. Now, exponentials look like this. The graph looks like this. It's kind of like a curve, and then it goes quickly up. It quickly increases. And these are called exponential growth. Growth as in GR, like when something's growing, it's increasing. So they call this an exponential growth. Now, some of them go down. So sometimes the curve is like this, and instead of growing, they're decreasing. So that one is called an exponential decay. Instead of growing, it's decaying. This is something like viruses. In science, you probably see these kind of graphs when they're talking about viruses, because they rapidly increase. And so they grow exponentially, like fast. They're not linear. They don't like, oh, one day and then the next day goes up a little bit more, the same amount. It like quickly, because one bacteria breaks into two, two break into four. So exponentially, that bacteria or virus is growing. Now, an example of decay, like for you guys being health science, you're going to be having to deal with dead people. And their temperature, if you were to plot, like as soon as a person dies, if you were to plot their temperature, you know how they're hooked up to the monitors, those monitors like keep tabs of the temperature. Well, if you were to graph those temperatures as they're cooling, because their body is going to start cooling, it would look like an exponential decay. It would look like a curve like this side. So viruses look like growth, exponential growth, and then like the cooling of the body of a dead person would be like a decay. Okay? Any questions on these three though, and what they look like, what their equations look like? So now let's practice. I want you to look at this handout right here, the other one that you got. It looks like a spreadsheet. I think it's this one. I'm just seeing it right there. So this is what I want you to practice. I want you guys to input these in your spreadsheet, and I want to see if you know how to tell me the difference. Because not everything is linear. And you need to know, okay, if it's not linear, then it's nonlinear. And then what type would it be? Would it be quadratic or exponential? And then tell me what the equation is. So let's practice, like we'll do some together. So everybody turn on your calculators. Please work with me. You guys need to train your brains. Like right now, you need to be inputting and practicing with me. The more you do it, the longer you remember things. So it's good to practice. Alright, so this is the app we're using, the fourth one, right here, the one that says List and Spreadsheet. Now when you have tabs open, how are you going to close them out? Control N, and then click No, and then go back to your spreadsheet. Oops, click the wrong one, spreadsheet. So now let's put the heading. You always need a heading. You cannot do a spreadsheet without headings. It needs those headings, so just use X and Y. And then these are the ones I'm talking about. We're doing the spreadsheets that you guys have on this handout. You guys glued in a handout that looked like that. Okay? Let me go back to it. This one right here. So we're doing number 1. That's where we're at right now. So let's input these numbers. So do it with me. 0, and then just enter them. Make sure you hit enter after each number. It has to accept the number. If you don't press enter, like some people don't press enter on the very last one. They forget to press enter, and then it won't graph it. It won't give you the equation, like it gives you this message. Like right here, some people will type it in and then they just forget to press enter. If you forget to press enter, it won't let you graph it. So make sure you press enter. Now, I'm going to show you a different way to graph it. I've always shown you just menu 3-9, but I don't like that anymore. I saw the math camp, one of the teachers did it differently. I said, you know what, the graph is better. Because when we do it, it splits the screen in half. And so you have the table on one side and a little tiny baby graph right here. The way they do it, it's the whole thing is the graph, and it just looks so much better, and you can tell. So watch, it's very simple. You go to your home screen, and go boot up the purple app. This app, it looks like a bar graph on the front, the little icon. Click on it, and that's your graph app. So they can be a lot prettier if you use that instead. And you do the same thing. Remember we would click here and we would highlight the x-axis, and then we click here. It's still the same. It's just a different way to see more of the graph. Look how pretty that is. It's the whole thing is one big graph. Now, is that linear?
No.
No. It's clearly not linear. This is not a straight line. So is it quadratic or is it exponential?
Exponential.
Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. We've got to try both because it could be half a quadratic. Some of you are probably like, but how could it be quadratic? Because it could be the right side of the U. If you think about it, if we put more data points in there, it could go like this, where the U is kind of like a really wide U. So it's possible, don't rule it out, it's possible for it to be quadratic. So let's try, but y'all think it's exponential, let's try it. Go to Menu, and go to Analyze. Menu, Analyze. And under Analyze, go to number 6, where it says Regression. And in there, I want you to try the one you think it is, exponential. So right here, number 8 says Show Exponential. Does it give you an exponential?
No.
Then I guess it's not that one. So let's try quadratic, because we know it could be that one. So 4, go to 4 again, where it says Analyze. And then go to number 6, and let's try quadratic. Number 4, right here, Show Quadratic. Okay, does it connect the points perfectly? Yes, look, it goes right through the middle of all the points, nice and pretty. So it's definitely a quadratic. Now, some of you that thought maybe it was linear, watch this. Let's do linear, because I think it does give us a linear. It gives us a linear. But does a linear go through the dots? No, not at all. It tried to give you, like, in other words, it kind of treated it like a scatter plot, and it drew the line of best fit, like tried to make the line go through most of the middle of those dots, and it gave you an equation, but that's not the right equation. Look at it. It does not fit the dots perfectly like this one did. So it's not linear. So you need to make sure you know what it is and make sure it fits perfectly. So I'm going to hide that one. By the way, if you put one up and you want to take it off, you can go back to it and it says hide now, whereas these say show. So I'm going to hide that one, and I want it to show me the exponential. Or what was it? Quadratic or exponential? Quadratic. Quadratic. There it is. Now, that equation looks kind of weird, but I'm going to explain it to you. So let's write it down. This right here is what we think it might be. So right here, first of all, it's nonlinear. You would highlight that, or you could circle it if you want. Those of you using like a marker, you can just circle that. The type would be quadratic, so you would write that here. And don't write the equation. Let me explain the equation real quick. Don't write it yet. I'm gonna write it up here, because I want you to look at that equation. It's a very strange equation. I need to explain what that E means. Anybody know what that E might mean?
No.
Isn't it 10 times 10? Because, like, I remember last year when we would do the scientific term.
Yes.
It was like 10.
That's exactly what it is. What it is this. It took the 1, and what the E stands for is exponent. Remember in scientific notation they would write it like this, right? Times 10 and then to the negative 13. So that's kind of what it is. It is scientific notation. E stands for exponent in the calculator though, and negative 13 means they go to the left 13 places. So look how small this number is. It's so small, it has 13 places this way. So let's see, how many is that so far? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Look how small that number is. Such a small amount that if you were going to round that, would you round to 0 or 1? Like on a number line, would that be closer to 0 or 1?
0.
0. It's like right next to 0, like right there, because it's such a small amount. So we would drop it. In other words, this is why I'm telling you, because that's such a small amount that it's like being 0. And then here, that one is 0, so drop that. So really, the equation is very simple. It's just 1x squared. And you could even drop the 1. You know how they always drop the number in front of the variable? So really, you could write it like this. This equation is very simple, even though it looked kind of weird. It's just y equals x squared. It's your parent. This is your quadratic parent. If you were to graph this and put the y equals x squared, it's your quadratic parent. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, sometimes the calculator, the numbers are so small, it'll use an E to represent it, which means scientific notation. Alright, so let's try number 2. 2 is a little bit easier, not as, like the equation doesn't look as crazy as that one, but it happens, so that's good it came up, because then you know what to do. Now, you do want to clear out your app. Anytime you use spreadsheet, make sure you clear it out. So let's do a Control-N. And clear it out. So let's try number 2. Please do this with me, because right now you're training your brain. And the only way you can train it to remember is to do it over and over again. So input the data. We're doing number 2. This one right here. Because you'll be surprised how many questions you could have used your spreadsheet with. And so it'll help you with those questions. I'll show you some of those questions. Don't forget to press enter. This is where people make the biggest mistake, and then they get real frustrated because they're like, it won't graph it, it won't graph it. Go back and check your table, make sure you have your headings, make sure every number is typed in correctly, and that you hit enter here, because it won't let you graph. So once you type them in, go to the home screen and go to the graph app. And don't forget to set up your X and Y axis. So right here you got to tell it, okay, this is my X. You click right here. Oh, go to the home screen, and it's the purple app, the one that has a little, you see how it has a picture of a graph? So actually, I don't know why they call it data and statistics, I guess because that's what it's graphing for you. I would like to, but I guess because this one has a name graph, they didn't want you to confuse it. I'm thinking that's why they use a different name. But it's this one right here, okay? So click on that one. And then right here, you need to click. Remember, you click and you highlight the X, just like we've done before. You click and you highlight the Y, and there's your picture. So is this linear?
Yes.
Yes. So you can clearly tell that is making a straight line going up. It's got a positive slope. So let's see what the equation is. Menu, analyze, regression. So menu 4, 6, and then go all the way to the top where it says mx plus b. And there's your equation, 5x plus 11. So if you needed the slope, which number would represent the slope? Which number represents the slope, the 5 or 11?
11.
The 5. Hey guys, it's mx plus b. This is your m, which is the slope or rate of change. This is your b, which is your y-intercept. mx plus b. You need to know that.
Equation, right?
That would be the equation. So going back to here, you circle linear. The type is linear. There's only one type, and it's called linear. And then the equation would be y equals 5x plus 11. But guys, write it down. This is your slope. Because sometimes that's why you're doing this. You're doing it to get the slope of the line. Or you're doing it because they asked you for the y-intercept. Because look at what it'll tell you. It'll give you the slope and the y-intercept. You have to know which one's which, though. Any questions?
No.
So try the next one then. I want you to try number 3. We're going to do 3 together, and then you're going to do 3 on your own. So try the next one, this one right here. And again, don't forget to hit Control-N. Finish number 3. Are you done with 3? Finish 3 and then you can go.
Yeah.
Whose is that? Y'all need to turn that off. And if you look at the Y's, look how quickly they're increasing. It went from a 1 to 2, and now it's jumping to 4, and then it goes to 8, and then 16. So just by looking at the Y numbers, you can tell that it's exponential, that it's increasing rapidly. But you can try the quadratic. So remember, you input them. What's wrong with it?
I don't know, I'm trying to
Because you probably didn't put the heading. If it doesn't let you click on those two things, it's because if you look at your table, now you do have your heading. So let's go back and see what happens. Because you still have to click here, and you click, and then you highlight the X, and then you over there you have to tell it that it's your Y-axis. Like you have to set up your graph. So once you type it here, then you go to the purple app, which is they call it what, data and statistics. And don't forget guys, these are not your dots. You have to set it up. You have to click here to set up the X-axis, and click here to set up the Y-axis, and then it'll graph it for you. So this could be quadratic, because it could be like a really, really wide U, or it could be exponential. So which one do you think it is?
Exponential.
Exponential, let's try it. Oops, I don't think I did the right one. Analyze, go to regression, and go to exponential. Yeah, that looks good. Look at how good that goes through. It goes through right through the middle of every dot. So there's your equation right there. Now you can try quadratic. I'm just curious whether it would give us a quadratic or not. Yep, but see how it doesn't fit as pretty. And look at the equations. Now, just because the equation's ugly doesn't mean that it's not, but look at it. It didn't go through the dots. Look, here it went through the top of one. Here, this one is like really not even on there. The only one that went through the middle was that dot. This one ended up at the bottom of it, so no, the quadratic is not correct. So you can tell which one fits better. Like, that's what you're looking for, is which one fits the best. I could even do linear. Watch this. I could try and get a linear, but look at the way it looks. Look at that line. It doesn't go through the little dots like it's supposed to, so that's definitely not linear. It gave you an equation. That doesn't mean it's the right one, because it's treated like a scatter plot at that point. And so it's trying to give you something that you can work with, but it's not the right equation. So you need to know, like, which one is the best. So if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't go through the dots perfectly, then it's probably not the right one. And exponential went perfectly. Let me do it again so you can see it. There it is right there. So write it down. This is what you would put. You would put it's non-linear, it's an exponential, and you would write down the equation. 1 times 2 raised to the x power. The power is the x. Any questions? So I do want you to do the last 3 and then practice also these 3 problems. So once you're done with those 3, because I know some of you already got ahead of me and you're already done, you need to go back to these 3. Because these were the types of problems that you could have used your spreadsheet with. These are 3 examples of that. So on your STAAR test, you need to look out for these problems. Problems that say they want the rate of change and they give you a graph. Problems where they give you a table and they want the function. And then here they want the equation. Like, those are the types of problems you want to look out for, because you can use a spreadsheet for them. So practice. When you're done with the spreadsheet though, raise your hand. I'll come by and check, which are these 6 problems right here. And I'll give you a raffle ticket, because I do want to do the raffle sometime this week, maybe at the end when we collect some more. So do these 3, the next 4. I don't know why that got cut off so weird. Yes. Do the next 3, raise your hand, I'll come by and check them. If they're right, you'll get a raffle ticket. You can get up to 2 raffle tickets. One for those 3 and then one for the other 3 problems. So you can get up to 2.
Wait, why is that a 3? That's not.
No, I meant like in, for that.
But it's an X.
I'll do it again.
It was an extra. It was 1 times 3, but then the power was.
That was an X, that was an
Let's try the other 3 to see if you would be able to use the spreadsheet with that. Like, I want you to use the spreadsheet with it. See how it would help. So again, make sure that you are doing the next 3 problems for a raffle ticket. Just raise your hand, I'll come by, and then do the other 3, which are on the other handout. This one right here, these 3 right here. And then that's all we're doing today.